question relates to the environment, our connection with the planet. Oregon has a special relationship with the environment. You know, years ago I was attracted to Oregon because you had a visionary governor by the name of Tom McCall who really understood the importance of protecting the environment and preserving the seacoast for people in Oregon. And I paid attention to that because it was a forerunner of public officials who ought to be involved. Now let's move to another dimension. There was a philosopher about 30 years ago by the name of Morris Berman wrote a book called The Reenchantment of the World. What he was writing about was humanity's separation from nature. How the Industrial Revolution created a mentality which split us and made us become entrained and attuned with machines and become masters of the environment instead of realizing, as Chief Seattle said so many years ago, that the earth does not belong to us, we belong to the earth. Now, Thomas Berry, in his book, The Great Work, writes that our great work should be repairing our relationship with the natural world. This, after all, is the place from which we issue. Our connection to all of nature needs to be understood, that we are not at the top of this evolutionary chain. We are part of it. And because we're part of it, we have to look at each link that preserves all life on this planet. And so that means it's time to have a president who has the kind of consciousness which says that we're preserving our own lives when we preserve every species, that we're preserving our own lives when we care about the fate of the entire earth, that we're preserving our own lives when we eliminate nuclear weapons everywhere, that we're preserving our own lives when we sign the Kyoto Climate Change Treaty, that we're preserving our own lives when the president calls forth the country and says, let's use conservation, let's become wise consumers of energy, let's make better choices than we make, let's look at the lighting choices we make, let's look at the products that we buy, let's look at the food that we eat and how it's raised, let's support local farmers, let's find a way to use different means of transportation, let's support more bike paths, let's support more walk paths, let's support more mass transportation, let's support smaller and more energy efficient vehicles, let's support a means of moving between cities with interurban, let's support high-speed rail, let's support ways where we're not using the kind of oil, let's move to renewable energy, let's eliminate non-sustainable sources, let's not rely on oil, coal, or nuclear, let's create an environment where we can create micro-technologies of wind and solar and millions of homes, creating millions of jobs. Let's create this new energy and put it out there and get people excited about what we can do to help save our planet. Let's make this a sustainable soaring call as being citizens of the planet. Let's create this in the same way John F. Kennedy said, reach for the stars. Let's go to the far reaches of the universe when we know today our vision here is here on Earth, that we have to create and heal this world. Tikkun Olam, heal the planet. Let's call that forward. Let that be our chance to heal the world. Let's repair our environment. Let's do that. And let's look at our trade agreements. When Nafta and GATT and the WTO were all constructed, they were deliberately written so that there would be no workers' rights, no human rights, no provisions for environmental quality principles. Before NAFTA was passed, we were able to have bilateral trade with nations. We could set conditions on the trade. Once NAFTA was passed, we couldn't pass environmental laws that would run afoul of the WTO because they would be ruled WTO illegal. We've given up our right to be able to determine what we can do to use trade to lift up the planet. And so I say that in recognition of that one of my first acts in office will be to cancel NAFTA and the WTO. And what does that mean? You have trade with other nations based on these conditions. Follow me on this. Workers' rights. America should be leading the way for workers' rights around the world, meaning the right to organize, the right to collective bargaining, the right to strike, the right to decent wages and benefits, the right to a safe workplace, the right to a secure retirement, the right to participate in the political process. America should be leading the way for human rights, prohibitions on child labor, slave labor, prison labor. America should be leading the way for protection of the environment, for strong air and water and land protection as part of our gift to the people of the world. America should be leading a race to the top, not one to the bottom. And as President of the United States, and with your support, I intend to take this country in that direction.